back to my next playthrough series. This time it's a preview copy of a game that is hitting Kickstarter today. It's Friday, May the 20th, and it is called Vikings Gone Wild. And it's based off an app that's been out for quite a while. I think it's quite popular. I've never played it, so I have no real comparison between this board game and the app. But this board game is basically it's part deck builder, it is part civ building, it's part take that, and you are trying to score as many victory points as possible to win the game. The first 1 to 40 victory points, I'm going to be doing a 2-player game. We'll trigger the last round for everyone, and then we will score points and see who has the most. So again, this game will play between 2 and 4 players. I've played it with 2, played it with 3, have not played it with 4 yet. It works very well with 2 and 3, I'll tell you that. I will be doing a complete playthrough of the game. I'm not going to go over a ton of detail of rules because you will see that in action as we play. Like I said, it's basically a deck builder, so you will have a hand of starting cards, and they will be 6 beer, 2 gold, and 2 Viking warriors that hit for 1 damage. And so the currency in the game, there's 2 of them, there's gold and there's beer. So I will very quickly at a high level zoom in on some of the areas. I'll just point to them here on the board. So there are resources you can buy. So there are places in town you can build your town. You can buy breweries, gold factories, taverns, beer containers, gold containers, or drakkar ships. And they have different abilities on them. Breweries will produce beer, gold factories will produce gold. Taverns let you draw an extra card. Beer and gold containers let you store beer and gold. And the drakkar lets you keep 1 card in your hand from turn to turn. So instead of having to discard your whole hand like you do in most deck builders, you would be able to keep 1. You can never build more than 3 of the same building in your town. So just so you know that. And then there are units for fighting. There's elf archers you can buy for beer, bone crushers, and pig eaters. And so the elf archer has a 2 attack, bone crusher 4, pig eater 6. And now you also have defense for your buildings if you do get attacked. You have a cannon, gives you +2 defense, sorcerer's tower +3, and a sheep cannon. Of course, the sheep cannon gives you +4. There is a divine favor deck. You can never buy these cards. You will earn them, and I'll show you how you do that down on the track for points. There are markers on the track. I guess I can just do that right now. Markers down here on the point track, so when you get 5 points, you will be able to pick one of these cards, and how that works is you flip over the top card here, and you get a choice of one of the 3, and then the other 2 stay out. So it's at 5, 12, and 20 you will be able to do that. You can also trigger getting Divine Favor cards through other abilities like attacking your player's Town Hall if it has been upgraded. So a lot to this game. These are endpoint scoring conditions. There were bonuses at the end of the game, so once the last round has been triggered and you add up points, there are 10 of these in the game, and you just randomly draw 4. So the random 4 that I drew for this playthrough: King Pig, the player who has the most pig eaters. Conqueror, the player with the most attack cards, and attack cards in the upper left corner. You'll see a little sword icon. Player with the most resource cards has that little symbol in the upper left corner. And the brewer, the player who has stored the most beer at the end of the game. And of course, in your beer containers, you want to store your beer if you want to get the 6 points at the end of the game for that one. If there is a tie for any of these, you split the points. So in a 2-player game, if we tie for the same number of attack cards, we would get 3 points each. Wow. All right. And lastly, for the main board here, up on the top are something called Odin's Path. And all of those cards have a little lightning bolt in the bottom right. Those are more advanced cards than your basic cards that you can buy to build your deck with. So there's things like gold bars and sword and bear rider. I think this should be called the beer rider, but anyway. Beer mugs, gold bars, and they have different effects and abilities for them. Basically, your basic beer card is only worth 1 beer, but if you buy beer mugs, cost 2 gold, would be 2 beer. And yes, I should mention, the cost of the cards is in the upper right-hand corner. And of course, the currency is gold and beer. So to buy any of the towers is going to cost you gold, so 2, 3, and 4 gold. To build some of the buildings are different. Beer containers cost 1 gold. Breweries cost 2. So 3, 2, 3, and 5. And it's either gold color for gold or brownish color for beer. And that is basically it in a nutshell. I'm just going to go over and we're going to look at some of the components. Now, like I said, this is a prototype. Everything is mostly what it will be like, from what I understand, for the final production. So the cards are basically finished. All the artwork is finished. The board is all complete. Everything, what you see is what you will get if you buy the retail version. And I think in Kickstarter they have a couple of expansions as well for the game if you want to get in on that. The things that are missing are the little plastic marker tokens. They are represented by just little wooden pegs for the preview copy, but you will get actual plastic miniatures in different Vikings poses for the 4 of them. And the other prototype is, well, let me just go over it and we'll look at the cubes and things that come, and the player mat area. I'll explain that. And then I think we're just going to get right into doing a couple of turns. This episode would be like an intro setup and do some turns. So let's go look at a player mat, player board area, and the rest of the components. Alright, so here's a player board, and what you see on the player board is you have a discard pile, you have a draw deck pile. So this is our 10 basic cards, the 6 beer, 2 gold, 2 Viking warriors. We have our Town Hall level 1. The Town Hall can be leveled 2 times to level 2, level 3. It gets better defense as you level it up. And again, we'll get into that as we play the game. The upgrade cost to go from a level 1 to a level 2 is 5 gold. So it tells you right on the card. These are now missions. Everyone starts with 2 missions, and they're worth 1 victory point each. The beginning missions are all worth 1 victory point. Once we get farther down on the mission deck, as you complete these and replace them, we start getting into 2 and 3 point mission cards, and of course they're a little harder to do. So for me, this is going to be my area. I'm going to be playing the red player. So we can just look at mine. Mine says Innkeeper. So if I buy 1 tavern, I get a victory point. If I spend at least 3 beer during the same turn, I get a victory point. You can only ever complete 1 of your missions per turn, so you can't do 2. And when you complete a mission, you just immediately replace it, but you're done doing missions for your turn because you can only do 1. So we have these nice brown wooden cubes representing beer, and we have the nice little yellow cubes representing gold. Now we have, in the retail game, this are just pieces of paper right now to represent tokens. These will be nice tokens, I believe. I'm just going to use little red cubes to represent the tokens here for a successful attack on a building. And we have sort of construction, again, pieces of paper, but these will be tokens in the retail version or the Kickstarter version. And I'm just going to use little blue cubes to represent recently bought and starting to be constructed buildings. And again, we're just going to be using these little wooden tokens. These will be nice little Viking plastic miniatures in the finished version. And there's a first player token. I'm not sure if this is going to remain the same or whether this will be replaced with something else. But it's just a giant, big wooden token at the moment. So I will be first player as well. So that's my player board. And I should mention deck builder. So you start with 10 basic cards. You draw 5 cards. And let's go take a look at our opponent, who will be the black player, and we'll look at the scoreboard a little bit, and I think then we're just going to start getting into play. I'll show you the turn order card, which goes through the phases of the game. So let's go look at our opponent's board and see what he has for missions. Everything else will be the same. Alright, so here's our opponent's board. Again, 10 cards, 10 basic cards. He has a level 1 town as well, and he has his 2 missions. Starting missions are strategy: buy 2 attack cards during the same turn, gives him a victory point, or earn at least 3 victory points during 1 turn. Again, how do you earn victory points? Well, now is a good time to take a look at our little player aid card. And we'll go through, there's 5 phases. So the first thing is the drawing phase. So everyone will draw 5 cards. And you get +1 card draw if you have taverns, and you can retain a card from your hand and not discard at the end of your turn if you have a Drakkar. So just to know, so the production phase, if you have a if you have a brewery or gold factory, they will produce gold, and they will produce beer. And then there's a player phase. So going in turn order, the player will play as many cards or all that he can in his hand, and he doesn't have to play them all, because eventually you're going to end up with defense cards, and you're going to want to do a little bit of bluffing as well. You may not have a defense card in your hand, but if you save some cards at the end of your turn, your opponent may not know whether you have defense cards or not, so it gets a little riskier to attack some of your buildings, and I'll get into attacking buildings here in just a second. Then there's the storage phase. If you've not used your beer that was produced by the brewery or the gold from the gold factory, and you have a beer container or gold container, you can then put it into the beer gold container to store it. And then the end of the turn is everyone will take all the cards they've played or bought. They don't immediately go into the discard pile. They go into a played or sort of bought area. They get put into your discard pile. Odin's River will slide down one place, and the leftmost card will be replaced. And then, of course, the first player moves clockwise to the next player, and you remove all the markers from buildings. So buildings that have been successfully attacked, or buildings that have been newly constructed. Newly constructed buildings cannot be attacked. Buildings that have been attacked can't be attacked again, and you can only attack one player. You can't gang up. So in a 4-player game, which I'm not doing, you couldn't have 3 players attacking one player and just pounding away at them, because once a player has been attacked, that's it for them. They cannot be attacked again. The exception being in a 3-player game where if 2 players have attacked each other and then it's the 3rd player's turn, they do get a chance to attack one of the 2 that have already been attacked, but that's the only exception in a 3-player. All right, how do we get points? Well, you get points for, of course, completing these missions. Will give you victory points. But the main way to get points is by beating up your opponent's buildings. Basically, you attack them with attack units. If you successfully attack one building of your opponent, you'll get 1 victory point. If you successfully attack 2 buildings, you'll get 3 victory points. 3 buildings attacked successfully, 5, and it ramps up to a lot of victory points. First one to 40 victory points is going to trigger the end of the game, and then we're going to do the bonus point tally and see who wins. So how does defense work? Well, if your building is being attacked by your opponent and you successfully defend against it. So attacking works if you meet or exceed the defense value of the building, you have successfully attacked that building and you'll score points. If the person's that is having their building attacked successfully defends by playing a cannon, sorcerer's tower, or sheep cannon, and puts the defense value 1 or higher above the attack value, then it is successfully defended. And if you successfully defend a building, you'll get 1 victory point. And then if you successfully defend against all attacks, you'll get a bonus victory point. So this is the victory points you get for successfully attacking buildings, and these are the victory points you get for successfully defending your building. So you can get points for either attacking or defending, and you have to kind of keep an eye on what the opponent has been buying, so you know if he's got defense cards or not, and how risky it is to attack his buildings to try and get victory points. And one last thing we'll quickly look after. Some of the cards, including your town hall, underneath the shield, which is the defense value of the building, there may be a marker here, an indicator, reward is what it says. So if there was beer stored on this beer container and it was successfully attacked, the attacker can take 1 beer off of here and loot it for themselves. So there are rewards for successfully attacking. So we just look at the basic town hall. If a player successfully attacks another player's town hall, they're going to immediately get 2 victory points. So that's pretty awesome. So you're going to want to buy some defense cards, and you're going to want to buy attack cards, and you're going to want to buy bonus cards. And again, it's a deck builder, so you're trying to get the best cards in your deck, and you're trying to make the best use of the cards you have in your deck. All right, long-winded, not as complicated as I'm making it sound. So why don't we just go right ahead. I'm going to be the first player. I'm going to start. I think I'm going to do a couple of turns each, and that's going to be the introductory episode for Vikings Gone Wild. It's by Lucky Duck Games, and it is going to be, again, like I said, it's on Kickstarter. I'll put a link in the description to the Kickstarter that's starting today, May 20th, 2016, and you can go take a look at it. It's actually a lot of fun. I've played this now a half dozen times, and the first time or two, it takes a while to figure out, what should I be buying? What am I doing? You're kind of lost. But once you get the hang of what cards are available and the strategies, it gets to be a really fun sort of back and forth deck builder, civ building. Take that bluffing game. All right, let's get moving. I'm first player, so first thing we do it simultaneously as both of us are going to draw 5 cards. And one last thing before we get right into it is I forgot to mention the middle section here. We have the merchant. So you are able to spend 4 gold, and you can spend gold, which are cards and or cubes that you get from what's going on in the game, any combination of, and you can reshuffle your deck, which means you're going to take your discard pile and your deck pile and reshuffle them. But you're not going to be reshuffling stuff that is not in your discard pile. So cards you've just played or cards you've just purchased. So there's that ability. At any time on your turn, any number of times you can take 2 gold and make them 1 beer, or take 2 beer and turn them into 1 gold. You also have a center zombie unit who has a defense of 1. You're allowed to attack him once per turn per player. And if you have a successful attack against him, which would be 1 attack or higher, you can either take 1 gold or 1 beer. So that's the center board that I forgot to mention. All right, we're going to go over to my area here, and actually I'm going to zoom out a bit. We're going to look at the 5 cards I drew in my hand, and then we'll make some decisions on what I'm going to buy or do. All right, so looking at my starting hand, I drew a Viking warrior, a beer, another Viking warrior, a gold, and a beer. And so I don't have a heck of a lot of resources. Now I do have the Viking warrior. There's no buildings for my opponent for me to attack, so they can only attack basically one thing. I'm going to attack the zombie here. He has a defense of 1. My Viking warrior here has an attack of 1, so this is going to go in my played area. And now I can either take a gold or a beer, and I think I'm going to take a gold. So by defeating the zombie, I take 1 gold, and I have a gold card. So this represents 2 gold. So I'm going to spend those 2 gold, and I'm going to buy a brewery. And so when you buy it, it's going to go in front of my play area. It's going to get a building token put on it. It means it cannot be attacked this turn, nor can it be used this turn because it's under construction. But I did now buy a brewery, so that's good. So I'm left with a Viking, which can't really do anything, can't attack anybody, can only attack the zombie once, so he's kind of no use, so he's going to go away. I'm left with 2 beer, and with 2 beer, is there anything exciting I can buy? I can't buy. The Elf Archer costs 3 beer, and buildings, I can buy a gold container. So I think, otherwise I'll probably be wasting the 2 beer. I think I will buy a gold container, which upper right corner costs 2 beer. Again, I will be putting a blue token on it. It cannot be attacked, nor can it be used this turn. All right, that's basically the first turn for me. So right over to our black player and his 5 cards that he has. He has 1 Viking warrior, and he has a load of beer. And he has a cunning plan. Immediately, he's seen that I built 2 buildings. He's going to take his Viking warrior. He's going to attack the zombie as well. He's going to take a beer for that. I won't actually grab the cube because he has 1, 2, 3, 4 beer already. 5 beer for the 1 that he gets from attacking the zombie. And with 5 beer, he's already getting hostile. 5 beer is enough for him to buy the Bone Crusher, and he is a 4 attack unit. So yeah, nasty. All right, he's going to play that way, is he? I may have to think about doing some kind of defense then. All right, so, and yes, I skipped over one of the phases here. Let's just review this again quickly. So drawing phase, we both drew 5 cards. There should have been a production phase, but neither of us had have buildings on the first turn, so there will be no production. Player phase, in turn order, I started. Play all your cards until you don't want to play any cards anymore. Now we're into the storage phase. If we had beer or gold on either the brewery or the gold factory, and we had a beer or gold container, we would be able to store it. But that's not happening. Now we're at the end of the turn, which means all of the cubes are going to come off all of the buildings. So the 2 blue cubes off my gold container and brewery now disappear. So now they're fair game in the next round to be attacked. And they're also going to be available for use next turn. Of course, the black player doesn't have any buildings, so he won't be doing that. Odin's path now is going to move, and I'll just do this a little bit here. So the rightmost card in Odin's path gets flipped over to the discard pile. They all slide down 1, so it kind of refreshes itself as we go along. So we end up getting an assassin. He's a 4 attack, or he can discard any 1 unit attacking one of your buildings, but he costs 5 beer. All right, of course, none of us got any points this turn. Did I spend at least 3 beer on the same turn? I don't think I did. I only spent 2 beer, so I didn't get my special ability. You got to watch those too. I have buy a tavern or spend at least 3 beer in the same turn. His is buy 2 attack cards. He only bought 1 or earned 3 points. He didn't. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I do the playthrough as well, because those are victory points you get on the little missions. All right, that's basically the very quick first turn. And then the first player marker is going to move over to the black player, my opponent. And we start all over again by drawing 5 cards. So he is going to start this time. So let me get that organized, and we'll come right back. All right, he's taking a look at his cards, and what he has is a Viking warrior, 2 beer, and 2 gold. What he is going to do is he's going to take his Viking warrior, he's going to attack this zombie. Now, he could attack my brewery. I only have a defensive 1. Obviously, neither of us have any defense cards yet. And so he is just going to attack the zombie here. And with that, he will get, what did he want to get? He wanted to get 1 more beer. So he's going to attack the zombie, get a beer, and spend these 2 beer for a total of 3 beer. And that is going to allow him, with 3 beer, to get, he was going to pick up gold bars, which cost 3 beer. So that's going to go into his discard pile. And that's 3 beer for that. And he has 2 gold left. And with his 2 gold left, he will buy a brewery. So he's going to buy a brewery. Again, he's going to put a blue cube on that. It cannot be attacked this turn because it's being built under construction. And that is going to be the end of his turn. Now, I did forget to mention at the very end, on the end turn, and these refresh, of course, immediately as soon as you do that. And he did not do any of his missions. So I should mention all the cards you played or bought, with the exception of buildings, of course, which go out on your tableau, go into your discard pile on the end of the turn. So now we're going to go over to me with my 5 cards, and let's have a look and see what I have left. Well, this time I have 4 beer and 1 gold. And the 1 gold, well, and of course, now I totally forgot. We're supposed to, before we play cards, and we're supposed to have a production phase. And in fact, I do have a brewery. So it will produce 1 beer. So what we do is we take a beer cube and we put it on the brewery because it's producing a beer. Sorry, I forgot that. So we draw our 5 cards. Then we all do production phase, putting beer or gold on those brewery or gold factories. Then we play cards. Skip that. Sorry. All right, let's do this right. So that now means I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 1 in the brewery, 5 beer and 1 gold to use for spending. So I'm going to spend the 1 gold, and I'm going to buy a, what was I going to do with 1 gold? I was going to buy a beer container. And the beer container here, of course, costs 1 gold. Again, under construction, so I can't use it this turn, so I'll put a blue cube on. But it can't be attacked, but I'm last player anyway, so it does not really matter. I do have either 4 beer I can spend in any sort of combination, or I can use the 1 from the brewery, which I might as well, because I can't store it this turn, to give me a total of 5 beer. And with that total of 5 beer, I think I'm going to buy the assassin. And the assassin he is worth cost 5, and his ability is he's either a 4 attack unit, or you can discard this card to discard a unit attacking you. So that is it's a defense basically against one attacking unit, or it gives you a 4 attack. And of course this is going to slide down immediately. And yes, I just did complete my thirsty mission. Spend at least 3 beer during the same turn, which I did, so I'm going to get 1 victory point, and that's going to go into my discarded missions. I'm going to draw a new one, which I can't complete, of course, this turn. Build at least 2 buildings during the same turn, so that becomes another active mission worth a point. So down here on the track, red is me. Whoops, they should start at 0, of course. It moves to 1 victory point. First one who gets to 5 is going to get a choice of these nice divine favor cards. Wow, all right, that is play cards. Now it is the storage phase. I have a brewery which I used the beer on it, so it's not going to be stored, so we're not going to be able to do that. And he has a brewery which of course was not used this turn because he just built it. And that's going to be the end of the storage phase. Now it's end of turn, so the building cube on his brewery is going to come off, and the building cube on my beer container comes off, so now they're going to be used next turn. So I'm just going to quickly, we're going to take any cards we played or bought now, and they're going to go into the discard pile. Of course, neither of us have cards to draw now, so we're going to be shuffling everything up for the beginning of next turn, but we're not going to worry about that until we come back in the next video, which will be a continuation of this 2-player playthrough. And yes, the player token is going to move over to me, and Odin's Path is also going to shuffle 1 down, which means all the cards start to refresh a little bit. So we have beer mugs, a couple swords. Now we have a chicken tower. It adds +1 defense, only costs 1 gold. I don't know if you can really see that up there. Wow, yeah, there's lots going on in this game. I hope I'm going to keep track of everything and not muck everything up. I think I've done everything correct so far. I hope you're enjoying it. It's quite a fun little deck building game. I'm just going to zoom down on my player area and my opponent's player area for the very end here, just to show you the buildings that we've got building. And remember, our level 1 town hall, you're only allowed to have 5 buildings maximum right now. When you upgrade your town hall, you're going to be able to have 8 on a level 2, and then an unlimited number on a level 3. Of course, you can never have more than 3 of the same building. So a quick look at my player area, my opponent's play area, and that's going to wrap it up for this episode. All right, so just taking a look at my buildings here. I've got a brewery, which is now ready to go. I guess I'll switch these around. I have the brewery, I have a beer container, so if I produce a beer, I can store it here during the storage phase. I have a gold container, but I have no gold mine. My 2 missions are buy a tavern or build at least 2 buildings in the same turn. I have a level 1 town hall, max 5 buildings in my discard pile. Of course, there's nothing now in my deck. All right, over to my opponent to wrap it up. All right, my opponent now, he has a brewery ready to go for next turn. Of course, he has a discard pile, which he'll need to shuffle as well, and also level 1 town hall, max 5 buildings. He has buy 2 attack cards during the same turn, or earn at least 3 victory points in the same turn to get another victory point. All right, that's it for episode 1 of Vikings Gone Wild by Lucky Duck Games. Again, the Kickstarter kicks off today, May 20th, Friday. A link in the description if you want to pop over there, have a look at it. I will continue every day putting up a new episode, and I'm going to be doing a complete playthrough, 2-player game of Vikings Gone Wild. So I hope you'll join me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Join me next time for the continuation of Vikings Gone Wild, 2-player game.